Hello, good morning and welcome to TVC Breakfast Newspaper Review. Today we have quite a lot of headlines on the various national dailies, but top on the agenda is the celebration of the Armed Forces Day yesterday in the nation's capital and across the 36 different states of the country. But I'm not alone today. Joining me from our Abuja studios is the former managing editor and director, News Agency of Nigeria, Mr. Joe Bankole. Good morning to you, sir, and if this is still in order, I'd like to say Happy New Year to you.
Good morning. Happy New Year to you too. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us to review some of the headlines today on the newspapers. Let's begin with the Nation newspaper. Of course, like I said earlier, Mr. Bankole, all of the papers are looking at the Armed Forces Day remembrance, and a very strong message from the President himself to Nigerians is Tinubu to Nigerians: shun violence and promote unity. This was at the Armed Forces Day, as the President was represented by the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, alongside other members of the executives. But let me ask you this, Mr. Bankole. First of all, what does this mean to you as a citizen of this country, and again as an elder? What does this mean to you? I mean, the Armed Forces Day celebration.
Well, this is a celebration that comes up every year in this country. And like the President said, violence is not helpful to the country in any way. It stops people from moving from place to place. It kind of stop progress in any particular way, and it also hampers unity, because when there is violence, there is anger, there is all kinds of things. But without the ingredients of unity, a country cannot develop, and you can't agree on any particular thing. So the President is quite in order to advise that Nigerians should promote unity and shun violence among themselves. And to me, the celebration of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day is something that shows that Nigeria recognizes the impact and the contributions of the armed forces to the state of the nation in ensuring peace and the territorial integrity of the country. These are men who have laid down their lives for the peace of the country. They have left everything behind and said, no, I am going for my country, and they have along the way lost their lives, and it is proper to remember them.
And speaking
for
of
me,
Speaking of that, sir, if we can go to the Guardian newspaper with the board header there, war veterans and wives of fallen heroes lament neglect despite promises. The government have promised over and over again to take care of these people. What do you make of those promises, and have we kept to those promises again? Because we're seeing this kind of header here from the Guardian. What do we need to do to keep these people rewarded?
Well, the problem with the Nigerian system is that we have too many things on our plate that, you know, to satisfy everybody is always a difficult task. However, there are agencies of the military that take care of these issues. From what we heard yesterday from various officers in charge of these agencies, they are doing their best within the available resources that they have to work with. And it's an opportunity for improvement. And if those people did not come out to say this is what we are facing, the government will not know what next to do. I believe that with the celebration and the comments by relatives of the armed forces, military men and women, the government has an opportunity to check, to go back to the drawing board and see where it is failing and where it needs to improve. And I believe the government of President Tinubu is able to address these issues and bring joy and succor to the families of those who have laid down their lives. I believe this is a good pointer to the fact that government needs to do more.
And still staying on that, Mr. Bankole, we have an agency in this country called DICON, Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, whose responsibility really is the manufacturing of hardware and weaponry for our uniform agencies. One of the dailies yesterday, raised an alarm of what the Minister of State for Defense, Matawale, mentioned that that agency is still underfunded. And if we are celebrating the Armed Forces Day and we're talking about the gallantness of our men and women in uniform, one of the things they are lamenting about, Mr. Bankole, is the ill-equipment with which they have to face terrorism and internal security. How far do you think we've fared on that, and what more do you think we need to do?
Well, thank you for bringing up that, because I have my own opinion about it. First of all, procuring arms and military hardware is not an easy thing, because you have to go around the world, search for where the particular materials and weaponry that you need are available, and then the best of them. But thank God we have DICON in Kaduna. I believe that the agency should be funded and encouraged to do its job according to the mandate of setting it up. Now, we've been talking about state police, for some time. Apart from state police, we also need local government police and some of the big cities to also have their policemen. So that way, we'll be able to address the issue of security very well. And DICON can come in by providing the weaponry that we need for all these segments of the societal needs, in terms of security and peaceful coexistence of the people. Now, if DICON is properly funded and is up to its task, you'll be able to manufacture enough weaponry and all the military hardware that we need for these segments of the society, at local government, at state level, at the city level, so that we also can be like other countries that are able to combat crime and then have enough. So I support the need for the government to, raise the standard of funding for DICON so that it can fulfill its mandate to the country.
Let's shift our attention a little bit now from the Armed Forces Day celebration to economy, and that is on the Daily Times. The Daily Times newspaper this morning says NAS directs NCSS to block leakages to achieve 100 trillion. And there's also the issue of 9 banks being directed by the NCC to block all transactions, all telecoms transactions by that company. I want to ask you, Mr. Bankole, you, of course, engage in e-banking and online transfer of money. What do you make of the issues surrounding the USSD charges by banks, and the fact that sometimes some of those charges are a bit what Nigerians call on the high side? What do you make of it?
Well, I must commend the Central Bank of Nigeria for stepping into this matter. Customers have been complaining over the years of enormous charges that they have to suffer in the hands of these banks, and then not knowing that they themselves are not even up to date with their obligations to other areas like the telecoms. Now, with the intervention of the central bank, it is clear that they will have to sit up. I understand there are 18 banks that are actually involved in this, and some of them have paid the debts they were owing in order to ensure that their operations in terms of e-banking, are seamless. The 9 remaining ones have been are expected to pay their own. Otherwise, they will be blocked. And this will affect customers. That means they will not be able to receive alerts and so many other things. And it could also provide ways for criminals to tamper with the system. And it's the customers that will lose at the end of the day. So the central bank is right, and I hope that they will continue to do this and ensure that this phase of our experience is put behind us.
And if the National Assembly is directing the NCS to block leakages, so that the country can meet the target of 100 trillion. Again, NCS means the Nigeria Customs Service, right? So that we can meet the target of 100 trillion naira. How do you think that can be achieved?
Well, it can be achieved because the new helmsman at the Nigerian Customs Service, the CG Adeni, is doing a good job, and a lot of people have commended him. And I believe that when you do well and you are commended, the next thing is for you to improve on what you have done. I believe that they will meet the target, and it's just to block the leakages, just as has been, directed. Businessmen want to maximize their profit, and in the process, they can do just anything to get away with blue murder. But this is an opportunity for the NCS leadership to go deeper into, the operations that they put in place in order to ensure that they get the maximum reward in terms of revenue generation that the government expects them. Because the more they get, the better for the government to have more money to spend. And that is a good thing, yes.
Let me take you a little bit to politics down, Mr. Bankole. On the Tribune newspaper this morning, on the Tribune newspaper, it talks about PDP and APC trading words as gunshots heralds Edo State Governorship Election Tribunal. I'm sure you are aware that the APC took the helms in that state, and so the PDP is saying, hey, we need to go look at this again. What do you make of the political debacle that takes place after an election has occurred and a winner is declared? Do we always need to go to court to verify anything, really?
Well, the process does not end until aggrieved parties have gone to the courts to seek justice, and the court adjudicates according to the law. So thank God for the courts and the decision of the PDP to go to court rather than take laws into their own hands. Now the court is in session, and I want to appeal to all parties to sheath their swords and allow the court to take its position by looking at the case before it and then delivering, verdict. That is the way to do things, because going outside the law will bring panic, disaster of all different kinds, and the people don't need that. What they need is peace, so that the state can move forward. There's nothing wrong in any political party disagreeing with whatever decision has taken place as a result of an election, but go through it, observing the law as it should, and not create panic anywhere. Because the elections are over. What we want now is for anyone who is aggrieved to go to court, and they have gone to court. Now let the court do its job and let the people have peace.
But if we can end it at the ballot, after INEC has declared the winner, and then we call it a day right there, wouldn't that be better than having to flog the court with our matter?
Yes, of course. That is if everybody agrees with the results of the vote. But if they don't agree, then the court is the next arbiter, and that's what we are seeing. And that is much better than creating chaos, here and there. I think, as they say, the court is the last hope of the common man. Let us leave it in the before the courts and see how it comes out. But, naturally, if you are aggrieved, you express your anger, but let it be in terms of asking the court to look into the matter and then give me justice. And I hope and I believe that at the end of the day, we'll all go home happy. And when the court has decided, please, the various parties should accept and wait for another day.
Indeed. But before I let you go this morning, Mr. Bankole, let me take you straight to the Independent newspaper. There's a story there which really takes my interest, and that is at the bottom of the Daily Independent. It says here, NAS reject housing budget, orders minister to represent it. What exactly is going on here? NAS obviously means the National Assembly rejecting the housing budget and orders the minister to represent the budget back to them. Again, this is speaking of the minister of the FCT. Why do you think the National Assembly would reject that budget?
Well, the National Assembly gave its reasons that there are some, they do not understand why, they had cost for a national housing budget and then renewed hope housing budget. So they want, the National Assembly wants the ministry to explain what this means, because as far as they are concerned, it appears that, this is a ploy to just get some money and not be able to maybe account for it. So it is now in the course of the ministry to say, okay, this is what we mean by national housing, and this is what we mean by renewed hope housing scheme. So let them explain it properly, to the National Assembly, and at the end of the day, once they understand, I believe the right thing will be done and the budget will be passed. It's just like the Ministry of Information. When they came before the National Assembly, the National Assembly members of the committee, House Committee, felt that the amount of a little over 8 billion naira given to the Ministry of Information was inadequate to carry out its mandate. And so they advised that they should go back and that they themselves will work with the federal government, the executive, and ensure that the Ministry of Information, gets justice. So I think the National Assembly is just performing its role, and that's a good one. I'm not sure we have seen something like that before. It's a good one.
Indeed, indeed. A fine place to leave it. But before you go quickly this morning, Mr. Bankole, what is the hardest responsibility you have as being a managing editor? What's the hardest thing to do every day?
Well, the hardest responsibility is the use of language. Most journalists, our younger colleagues, they don't take the language seriously. For example, when we were in late primary school and secondary school, they encouraged us to read the newspapers, to have a good grasp of the use of English. Today, I would say that we have newspapers like the Daily Times of old, the New Nigerian, with the exception of the Punch, the Guardian, and a few others. Today, a lot of newspapers don't even understand what grammar is all about. So in our office at that time, I had that problem, but I took it upon myself to train those under me very well, and many of them all over the place doing well today.
And that's why you're here this morning, sir.
That was the challenge.
to continue with that. Thank you very much, the former managing editor and director at the News Agency of Nigeria, Mr. Joe Bankole. A pleasure to have you on the breakfast show this morning. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you for having me. I wish your station the best in the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's all I have for you on the newspaper review segment this morning. Gently handed it over back to Veronica and Ibrahim.